So what if instead of giving all your money to a bank, allowing them to create arbitrage with your money, what if you could be the bank, create your own private account where you create the arbitrage yourself? If you have 100,000 and you take out 75, you borrow against 75 to go invest. Your cash value is still earning compound interest and dividends on the full $100,000 value as if the money never left. Everyone will leave a legacy, you, me. It's whether or not we're intentional about how and what and the manner in which we leave it.
Welcome back to Real Estate Developer Discussions with Katie Kim, where we break down real estate development from the big wins to the hard lessons and bring you conversations with developers and disruptors who are actually doing the work. Today's guest is someone who's going to flip the way you think about funding your real estate deals and building generational wealth. I'm sitting with Erica Neal, a powerhouse in both the development space and the financial strategy world, to talk about a tool that most developers either don't know exists or don't know how to leverage: infinite banking concept. Now, if this term sounds mysterious, you're not alone. This is the kind of strategy that wealthy families like the Rockefellers have quietly used for generations to grow their money, protect it, and redeploy it again and again without the red tape of traditional financing. Erica isn't just an expert on infinite banking, she's a real estate developer herself, which means she's not just teaching theory, she's living it. She's walking the same trenches we are, structuring deals, raising capital, and using this strategy to create massive leverage in her projects. Whether you're doing your first infield deal or your 10th multi-million-dollar development, you're going to want to take notes, because infinite banking isn't just for the ultra rich anymore. Erica's breaking down how you can leverage it to level up at every stage of the game. And of course, because no developer discussion is complete without it, we'll be hitting her with our Developer 5, my signature 5 questions I ask every guest to get to the real of how they think, lead, and build. So let's dive in. Hey, Erica, how you doing today?
I'm great, Katie. How are you?
Awesome. Love it. Love spending time with you always. So want to start off, just jump right in. So I want you to walk us through your journey real quick. How did you know where to get started in real estate development and then in infinite banking?
So I'm actually one of those people that's the opposite. A lot of people come across infinite banking while they're in real estate. I actually came across real estate investing through infinite banking. So went to school for finance and economics, started off as a traditional advisor, right? Worked at a big investment firm. We had the downtown office, the high rise, right? And of course, I got hired by them and instantly knew everything. That was just, I was the smartest person ever. But I learned a lot. They were great people, great training, a lot of good information. But what I found was in that space, you know, Wall Street is very focused on two things: assets under management and rate of return. Those are good things. But what I started to see is when people actually wanted to use their money, whether they wanted to use it when they were younger or create income with it, that was the pitfall. That wasn't working. People were either running out of money or paying high penalties. It was just a mess. So I actually ended up leaving that investment firm and I went to a boutique independent firm where we actually focused on helping people create cash flow. We used a lot of different strategies, but one of them was the infinite banking concept. So when I got introduced to the infinite banking concept, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the piece that's been missing. I saw all this other stuff, which is great, but there was a gap there. And this really complemented the investments and everything else that were going on in most people's financial picture. This was that missing piece. So I came across infinite banking, started using that myself. And here was the unique thing. The guy that was actually the GA, the kind of owner of this boutique firm, was the first financial advisor I had ever met that was doing real estate and that owned businesses. And he wasn't just like, oh, it's, stock market or bust, right? Like he actually had multiple businesses and multiple investments. So I had dabbled in some real estate previously, but I started doing some real estate deals with him. And then in the process of doing infinite banking, there was another guy in the office doing the same thing. We started coming across more and more real estate investors. And we started to realize, oh, wait, these real estate investors are using infinite banking to go out and do these deals. And so I was like, wait a minute, what are you guys doing? So in the process, I was teaching them infinite banking and they were teaching me real estate investing, real estate development. I was like, oh, this is fascinating. So then I started to get into that as well. So I'm kind of the opposite of what a lot of people usually experience, but it was one of those things where, I saw what was being preached, but what was actually coming to fruition was not beneficial for the client. And then moving more into focusing on cash flow and tangible assets, I saw the value in that. I saw people utilizing the infinite banking strategy for that. And I knew this is the direction that I need to go.
Yeah, and I love when you say the traditional way. I don't think there's any traditional way people get into development unless you actually go the college route. Like we're
Yeah.
always like, oh yeah, I kind of fell into it. But I love when you said that. That's always my impression of FAs is it's like stock market, stock market, stock market. And then when you want to then use that money, it's like taking the handcuffs off. Like, no, 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 I
Yeah.
need my money out. I need my money out. I need to use it. And I think a lot of developers, when they're starting to look at like their stack, I was talking about this in my academy the other literally yesterday with our developers advantage call, where we were talking about investing. And when you do developments, like there's different strategic plays for different investors when you're bringing them into the deal. Like some of them are okay with a capital play, right? Where a capital equity play, where like now, okay, we're going to hold it for 5 years. You're not getting any money back from it. But in 5 years, we're expecting a 3x, 5x return, right? On our investment. Then there's the cash flow. Like, I don't really care about appreciation. Just give me some money, give me a paycheck every
Right.
month. And then there's that, like, I call it the toy money. Like, let's just throw it in this because it could make a lot or we could lose it all, right? It's kind of like
Right.
going to the casino. Like, let's bet it on, red 12. And so I don't even know if red 12 is green zero. Let's put it that way. Somebody is on the table of green is like, there's not a red 12, it's black, Katie. But those are kind of like some different strategies. And what I was saying is that like you got to look at your development deal and say, what can this deal afford to give our investors and give, our equity partners? And what does that look like? And which investors, am I bringing into this deal? And then you
Mhm.
go to that capital stack. Usually it starts with the capital stack first and say, what can we do? And then you look at the investors. But in this case, looking at those opportunities of how do I bring money into the deal? And if my investors are coming in, they can leverage this tool. And at each stage, when you're building your network up, when you're building your projects, when you're scaling up your projects, there's different tools that you have access to. And I remember this concept was one I fought to learn. And the first time, I'm going to take a squirrel moment. The first time I ever met Erica, I was like, I've been hunting for you. And I like
Like
cornered her.
laser focus. Like
Didn't even let her like leave the conference room. I'm like, we're going to be best friends now. Like, I need to like brain dump. But there's so many tools that are at a level above you that you have to build your network, which is why we're always building our network. You have to lean into learning about them, and then you have to get the reps in, right? So
yeah.
it was awesome because Erica and our team does a lot of teaching of the concept. And after like our second call, I'm like, I'm in, girl. Like I got this. I know this. Like, let's go.
Let's
And we
go.
just dove into it. So when we're talking about the infinite banking concept and incorporating that into like a deal, into your developer strategy, your investment strategy. And I like it because, I love control. Like I'm a control person, not a freak, a control person. And I love that it gives me the flexibility to build wealth, control my money, and play the most favorite part I love to play in deals, which is being the bank.
Yeah.
So if you're new to infinite banking and somebody's listening to this and they're new to infinite banking, what exactly is infinite banking? Because I think we've teased it enough right now, right? It's like,
Yeah.
get me the juicer.
Dangle the
Let's
carrot.
go.
Yeah. So, there's infinite banking, bank on yourself, be your own banker, right? It's this infinite banking is really kind of the generic term with a lot of subsets, but essentially there is a common theme that you are becoming the bank instead of keeping all of your cash and your liquidity, everything sitting on the sidelines in a regular bank. Because here's what the bank's going to do. You deposit money with the bank, they're going to pay you very little interest. Then they're going to take your money and loan it out to somebody else at a much higher interest. They're going to go earn a lot more than what they're paying. They're
Mm.
creating, and that's what's called arbitrage. We are allowing banks to create arbitrage on our money, and they're keeping that interest, they're keeping the growth, they're keeping the tax benefits, they're keeping all of it. So what if instead of giving all your money to a bank, allowing them to create arbitrage with your money, what if you could be the bank, create your own private account where you create the arbitrage yourself? That's exactly what we're doing with this strategy. We're using specially designed, very specially designed, heavy cash value life insurance policies that are going to warehouse your cash. And we're actually maximizing the IRS tax code. There's a whole tax code dedicated to these assets. If you really want to nerd out, it's tax code 7702. But they are a vehicle, they're a warehouse. So you can store your cash. There's a lot of benefits and everything else. We'll kind of talk about that here in a little bit. But you're keeping your cash inside of these policies and it becomes your own private bank so that you can create the same system, but to your benefit. So you have the ability to earn guaranteed growth and dividends and all of that, but you can borrow against your policy. You're going to generate loans just like the banks do. And when you generate that loan, you're going to go invest in your deal. You're going to go invest in real estate. You're going to go fund your business and earn a higher rate of return. Okay. While your money is out there earning and growing and compounding, you are still earning compound interest and dividends inside the cash value at the same time as if the money never left. So not only are you able to go invest in your deals and fund your business, you're going to do what Robert Kiyosaki says and give $1 multiple jobs, because when you have that money borrowed out, you're still earning interest inside the policy at the same time. And that's enhancing your returns. There's a lot of other tax benefits, and you mentioned control. There's a lot of other things to it, but at the base level, becoming your own banker means you're recapturing that interest for your own benefit instead of the bank's.
Okay, so that was like a bomb. And I'm sure some people who have never heard of this is like, wait, what? Exploded. So two things I want to kind of, I always take it down to my kids level, right? And
Yeah.
Erica actually came on to our family health and wealth meetings and taught my boys infinite banking. And it was interesting because it was right after the day that they learned compound interest in school. And they came home and I'm like, what did you learn? And they said, well, we learned if you put, say, $100 in a bank and you're earning 1% back, you make $1. And then the next year you earn 1% on $101. That's the compound. I'm like, great. Did they teach you what the bank does with your money? And they're like, silent. No. And so, of course, you know me, if you don't know, I have a portable whiteboard in my house, in my office, and I wheeled it in. And I'm like, okay, let's do this. Let's whiteboard this. Right. And I said, now they take your $100 and they go loan it out. That's the simple math, right? It's 6%. And they're getting that back. I said, when mommy does her deals, she gets a loan from the bank and she pays 6% interest. And I said, how much money does then the bank make if they have to pay you out that 1%? They're like, they make 5%. And they were like, they make 5% of my money. Like they didn't do anything. And I'm like, well, they're taking the risk, right? So we talked through that. But then, so that kind of set the stage in that platform. So when Erica came in, it's like, okay, now insert yourself as the bank, right? Now you're loaning that out at 6% and you're still, in essence, making that 1% over here and being able to then grow your equity, grow that. And so really it kind of opened and like unleashed their brain at that point in time. They're like, oh my gosh, this is next level. Right.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So why do you think this concept? Well, I want to go back. The second thing I wanted to say is what Erica was talking about, the typical FA, experience. A lot of times they don't recommend this because one, they don't understand it. A lot of, like you mentioned, a lot of FAs don't have real estate in their portfolio. They don't understand it. So it's really great you had that experience and that exposure with your boutique owner. But it's also the fee structures for FA are set up differently too. So they get paid. I'm always a follow the money, right? My understanding is they get paid more with different investments over this one. But one of the pain points that Erica didn't share, that she shared with me the first time I met her, was that one of her experiences that, she's working with clients and they're getting to the end of end of their policy. I'm not going to say end of their life, because that's the problem, is they get to the end of their policy, there's no more money in the plan, quote quote here, that they've put together, but they still have a lot of life left, right?
Yeah.
And Erica was like, I feel like we failed them. I mean, I'm paraphrasing what you said, but this opportunity is a sense to give your wealth like a business, to structure it like, how am I passing this on to the next generation?
Yeah.
And talk about like that family generational wealth pass, and being proactive versus reactive of, I just want enough money till I die, right? I mean, like,
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
we want to leave legacies and them behind. So why do you think this is such a well-kept secret in the development real estate investment space? Do we make it too complicated? Is that it? Like, I don't know.
That's a big part of it. I think a lot of people in the financial world, there's a hubris there where they're like, oh yeah, look at me. And I did it too, right? Like I was 20 something years old working at this investment firm. And like I said, I immediately got hired and knew everything on the spot. So there is that. And there's this idea that, oh, let me use a bunch of jargon. Let me use a bunch of technical terms to make me, one, sound smart, and then two, justify why you should put your money with me. So I think we overcomplicate it. And sometimes, when we are in this space, especially in real estate and development, there's so much going on. And it is difficult. It's complicated. So when we're in something, we think that because it has value and it brings, returns and all of that, that it has to be complicated. So
Mm.
that's not the case with infinite banking. It's just a mind shift because one of the difficulties in this is because we have been trained literally our entire lives, like what to do and how to do it. Put money in the bank, you save it, you max out your 401k, you go to school, you go work at the same company, you do this for 30 or 40 years, and then you retire and eventually die. That is what has been beaten into us from day one.
Yeah.
So to completely disrupt that mindset, we are literally carving, and I'm really big into like neurology and psychology. Like our brain literally has to carve a new thought process. So it's like going into the jungle and do you want to take the path that's already cleared, or do you want to have to chop away and work to create a whole new path? And that's exactly what this entrepreneurial pathway is in the way that we're handling money. It's a whole new thought process. So it takes time to reset the brain, reset the thought process. So that's really, it's not difficult. It's just different. And it takes time to relearn the way that we look at and view and manage our money. So that is a big thing. I would also say, again, the way that we've been taught from our whole lives stems like economically, just like a high level kind of history lesson here. Mutual funds, when they got introduced, well, number one, we came off the gold standard in 1972, and then we saw the introduction of mutual funds into the 401k, right? We had ERISA formed, all of this. We saw this massive stock market boom. Mutual funds were the first time that the average everyday person could invest in the stock market, right? And split it up because they could, invest proportionally. My point is, between 1970 and 1999, we had the best 30-year run that the market has ever seen, ever. The average
Mm.
rate of return over that 30-year time span was 14.84. So the people that lived in that time, that was their experience, and experience drives their perception. Okay.
Yeah.
So this generation that has taught us, raised us, right, and that lived through that, their mindset is, oh yeah, put your money in the stock market and everything's going to be okay, because that was their reality. But when we really zoom out and look at the reality over, the hundreds of years, and even if we look at the last 20 years of the stock market, that's not the truth. What they experienced in that time span was, if we came off the gold standard, so we had high prices, skyrocketing inflation, we got the mutual fund introduced, and we were leading up to the dot-com boom and bust. So all of those things happened, and that drove people's perception of like, oh yeah, put your money in the stock market. That doesn't mean the stock market's bad, but we also have to realize that it's a tool, it's not a silver bullet. And so when we're looking at these policies, they've been around for over 120, 150 years. This is very old, very time tested. It's been around for a long time, but it really got swept under the rug when the mutual fund got introduced because it was the hot new craze. Now that
Mm.
we're starting to kind of realize, oh, the stock market isn't a silver bullet, these old time tested tried and true strategies are coming back up. And that's why I think so many people are starting to hear about infinite banking again. It's kind of bringing its head back to the surface because people realize this isn't a get rich quick scheme. This is a long-term wealth building strategy to build it over time and have secure wealth, not just try to go get the best rate of return in the market.
Yeah, and I think too many times we like that shiny toy. And not to go into an education monologue here, but I do feel that I talk about this with my family all the time, is we say, school teaches you one way, one path. And we've talked before about like when the education system changed from us becoming thought leaders to us becoming like minions to go to corporate America and
Yeah,
to
the worker
factories.
bees.
Yeah, to worker bees. And I think one hand, AI is disrupting all that and kind of saying, like, learn what you want to learn. I'm here to teach you. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they're like, I think we're going to see education be customized to kids' brains. And I was thinking to myself, like, if they let it in, right?
Yeah.
Because I worry that you're going to have this gap of education of people who are like, I grew up with AI because I played with it as a kid versus like nobody let me enhance my skill in school.
Yeah.
So I look at education as you got to get that education outside of school that then
Mhm.
enhances you and rounds you out as a professional, right? That's why we do our family health and wealth building meetings, because we want to teach our kids
I love it.
how to build wealth, how to get into the game, and how to not just, how to have one to many for your dollar, right? How to have your
Yeah.
time and expansion. So, can you break down a simple example of like walk us through where we could use infinite banking instead of or in tandem with traditional financing in a deal?
Yeah, and I love you said it perfectly. It's not always an either or. So I would never tell somebody, hey, put all your money in an infinite banking policy
Mm,
instead of real estate or instead of traditional banking. It is a yes and. So the goal of infinite banking is it's a plug and play into what you're already doing to help enhance that. So
mm,
I'll be honest, I have funded deals 100% with the cash value of my policy, where I took cash for my policy and I paid cash for the deal and I paid myself back. I'll kind of get into that in a minute.
mm.
On the other hand, I have also taken a loan, a traditional loan from a bank,
Yeah.
and taken a loan from my IBC policy and used both of those together as part of the capital stack, right? So
Mm,
either way, if and that's and most people will usually say, "Oh, well, I'm just going to use my cash and my policy as a down payment," right? Because we're not going to build up a whole bunch of cash, right? Like immediately. It takes time to build up. But the point is, you can use it in tandem with or completely on its own. But back to your question. So I'm going to give a couple of different examples. I have invested in some cash flow deals like a multifamily syndication. Okay. And I took money out of my policy. I took a loan against my policy and I used that money. Let's say I have 100,000, I took out 75. I took out 75 and I invested it in this multifamily syndication that's generating cash flow.
mhm.
Great. When I did that, when I took that $75,000 loan out, when you take a loan out, you're paying interest. Just like the bank pays you interest, you're going to pay interest on your policy loan. I took that 75, I put it into my multifamily syndication deal. I start getting cash flow and returns from that investment. Okay? All the while, when I'm getting that cash flow from my investment, I'm using that cash flow to repay my policy loan. So, for example, I took out a $75,000 loan. If I get $5,000 in cash flow, well, guess what? I'm taking that 5,000, using that to repay my loan. And when I pay $5,000 towards my loan, guess what? That's just more money I now have available in my cash value. Because right now, if you have 100, you take out 75, it's working for you. You only have access to the 25 left over. Pretty simple. But
Mhm.
if you repay the 5,000, now guess what? Now you have access to 80. So that's mechanically what's happening. So instead of taking your cash flow and putting it into a regular bank, you put it into your IBC bank so you can reuse it again. Here's the difference between an IBC policy versus like an IRA or a bank account. While that 75,000 is out working for you and you're getting your earnings and you're getting your cash flow, you're earning compound interest and dividends on the full 100,000.
Okay, say that again. Say that again. I think that's a big like whoop.
So if you have I'm just using 100 because it's easy. I have some people that have 10,000. I have other
Yeah.
people that have seven figures. So I'm using 100 because it's easy to do the math. If you have 100,000 and you take out 75, you borrow against 75 to go invest. You're going to go get a rate of return on that 75, right? You're
Mhm.
going to go invest it. You know what you're doing. You've taken Katie's class. You're awesome. Okay. You know how to make money. That 75 is working for you in your investment. While it's working, while you have it invested, your cash value is still earning compound interest and dividends on the full $100,000 value as if the money never left. So that's kind of coming back to giving $1 multiple jobs.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love
Now
it.
that's a cash flow scenario. Okay.
Mhm.
Now I'll be fully transparent and not, and you guys may know, multifamily and a lot of commercial real estate's not doing too hot right now.
Mhm.
So when, and I have had this happen, when
Yeah.
I have deals that are not cash flowing, they've paused distributions, right? Things are taking longer than expected. If I'm not getting cash flow from that, I'm the banker. I do not have to repay that loan if I don't want to. So when my distributions got stopped, I just don't have to repay that loan. Now, eventually, are things going to come to fruition? Is that deal going to close out? Are we going to start distributions again? Well, I sure hope so.
Yeah.
But the point is, because I'm the banker, I am not subject to anybody else's loan repayment terms. I get to pay that loan back however I by God want to. Here's a development deal. I was involved in this new development. It was a single family neighborhood. I don't know if I told you this one.
Yeah.
But new development, single family. I was invested in this. This guy had, multiple hundreds of acres. He's building single family homes. So we started this project in February, March or so of 2020. So this project starts, it's supposed to take like
Mm.
12 to 18 months to build out these houses and get them sold. Okay.
Sure.
Well, February, March of 2020, boom, COVID hits. Okay. We cannot get permits. We cannot get materials. Literally everything shuts down. So having taken a loan from the policy to buy the land to start building on, right? This project that was 12 to 18 months ended up taking over 3 years to finish.
Mm.
He did not make a single policy loan payment for the entire 3 years. There's no cash flow, right? We're just trying to get this thing done. So finally, when he got the project finished and he sold it, he got his lump sum. He paid off his policy loan in one big chunk. And then guess what? When he paid it off, he just moved that money out again into the next deal. So whether my point is, if you're getting cash flow, you can use that to repay your loan. If
Mm.
you're not, you can decide when and if and just use a big payout at the end. Liquidation event, something happens, you sell out. You can use that to pay off your policy loan. And like you said, as entrepreneurs, most of us have some sort of control, want for control. I don't want to clock in from 9 to 5. I don't want to rely on somebody else. Like I want to maintain my money. And when I take that money out in real estate, and we know cash flow is cyclical, it's going to change, it's going to fluctuate. I need to be able to have control over those repayment terms. And that's exactly what being your own bank allows you to do, whether
Mhm.
you are in a passive investment and cash flow stops or you're in a development deal where, oh, shocker, things didn't go to plan.
Or they're delayed or shift. And that kind of goes into those three different avenues we talked about. And when you're talking about this, I was thinking it's almost as if you have an insurance policy on that debt service that you have to pay back. Because to me, I'm looking at if I'm a developer, which I am, and I'm taking this and putting some equity into a deal, or I'm taking a loan out on my deal, there's a debt cost to that, right? There's a
Mhm.
cost to the debt service. And now if I have even another lever to pull that says, ooh, I could kind of like push this debt service down the road. Now we know what happens when you push it down, right? The bill becomes due sometimes. But now, as that control lever is pulled, you can now say this debt doesn't have any cost to it right now. It's going to be paid back over here. And it gives you like really almost an insurance policy and a safety net in that.
That's a great way to look at it too. And I will say, when you're, like I mentioned, if you take out the 75, if you're just a side note for you guys, two things are happening. One, when you're investing, and like a lot of people, if they're looking at real estate as a tax haven, just know one of the main questions we get is, can I take depreciation when I use my infinite banking policy? Yes. This is treated
Mm.
as the same as cash investment. So anything that you're getting to take advantage of depreciation, if it's available, number one. Number two, any interest that you pay on your policy loan is considered to be an additional tax deduction. You're writing that off all along the way when you're using it for your business or real estate. So just so you know, there's some other tax benefits as well. But coming back to your control and mitigating risk. So if you are dragging that out, right? Like if you're not repaying your loan, do we have that interest on there? Yes, and we want to repay that, but at least you have control over it. However, you're mitigating that risk because even while that loan is outstanding, you're earning compound interest. So every time you're earning interest, that's reducing your risk on the loan and it's reducing the expense on the loan at the same time because you're earning compounded while you're paying down interest on the loan. So that's how you start to see that arbitrage spread get bigger and bigger and bigger because we don't disrupt compound interest.
Okay, so I love that, and my brain could probably, and Erica and I can talk about this for hours, and we have
Yes.
talked about it for hours and continually. So I wanna invite you back because I wanna go through one of the opportunities in detail that we're working on together with one of our clients. It's on bourbon barrel investment. So if you guys are interested in investing in bourbon, come back. We're going to do another episode where Erica shows us how you can use an IBC program to our policy to then invest in. What does that look like? Because I feel, to me, I'm like, show me an example, show me the math. And so we'll work through it. So if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, when that comes out, definitely make sure you go to YouTube so you can see the math and you can see everything going on, and we'll post that in the show notes. So I want to wrap up because I want to get to our developers 5 for you because I know you do develop and I love that, and you invest. And now you recently have started investing in businesses, and so it's a and. And so what I want to look at is I definitely want to get into like the stages and the deals. So we'll probably have her back for part 2 as well, and definitely talk more taxes as we're getting into either those of us who have not finished the last year taxes coming that due, and then for those that are speedy and ahead of it prepping, right? So really, you often mention like families building generational wealth, and the Rockefellers are always dropped with this type of policy. So what are they doing differently from all of our other day investors or developers? And how can our listeners, our developers, how can they apply that same mindset to build their generational wealth?
Absolutely. I think the one thing that the Rockefellers have done and that has been a testament to long-term not just maintenance of generational wealth, but building it and increasing it with each generation is their intentionality, right? Like everyone's going to leave a legacy. Everyone will leave a legacy. You, me. It's whether or not we're intentional about how and what and the manner in which we leave it. So What Would the Rockefellers Do is a great book, and it talks about the difference between the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilt family. And so Vanderbilt's really kind of went along the path of what most people do, which is, oh, I have all my money, I'm retired, I'm just going to use it, and then boom, I die. Hey, figure it out, I'm out, peace out, right? And then you die and your family just kind of pieces it all together. And I've been through that. Like I've seen both ends of the spectrum, proper planning and then scrambling after the fact. But what happens is when we don't structure things the way that they need to be done, and we don't structure the entities, and if we don't prepare our families, it's not going to become generational. One of the books that I read, he had one of the best quotes on generational wealth. He said, most people think about estate planning as preparing wealth for my family. It's not. It's about preparing my family for wealth. That's what we need to be focused on. Katie, you do a great job of it, of teaching your children the skills, right? So they have the skills to do that. And he talks about building a fire. They have the skills to be able to do it. All you're doing when you pass away, when you leave trust, when you leave entities, is you've given them the kindling. They still have to have the skills to put it together and light the fire. So that's what we need to do, is we need to structure trust so that the money goes in there and that the rules that we decide as the wealth builders of our family, the rules that we decide that are appropriate and necessary for this money to create that ripple effect stay in place even after we're gone. That's number one. Number two, we have taught, we have trained, and we have embedded the values in our family so that they respect the entity and they continue that on to the next generation. So it's that building. He also used the analogy of building a bridge. You don't just start on one side and go all the way across, right? Bridges, you start on both sides. You're building both sides and they connect in the middle. That's your family's job too. Your children need to build their own wealth. It's
Mm.
not a, hey, here you go. Here's a silver platter. Now you're wealthy. No, I've taught you, you build your own wealth. They're building their wealth. You're building yours. And when you pass away, it just becomes a massive generational, and they're doing the same thing with their kids. So it's all about intentionality, creating structure for protection for, liabilities and things like that, but also taxes is a big deal. But you're also teaching your children and you're creating structure and family values in them so that they create that ripple effect even after you're gone.
Yeah, and I love the analogy of the bridge, right? So it's like we're over here building the wealth, building that style, but we also need to teach the kids what to do with it. There's
Yeah.
been many times when I work with family businesses and investors that like have now built up this portfolio and they're like, we want to pass it through. And I get brought in to sit at a lot of like trust wills, all those meetings and put it together, like the criteria. And that is one thing I see a lot of people miss. It's like, take the time to teach your kid how to receive what you're giving them.
Yes.
Because
Prepare them.
otherwise, it's going to be like, woohoo, I just get the keys of the kingdom and go. And on the flip side, I see some people just sit and wait for that wealth to come to them and they don't ever educate themselves, build the skills, do the reps, build their own wealth. And then they think there's this big pot of money. And when that the matriarch or the patriarch like passes, it's like, oh, okay, you only get $100,000 or
Yeah.
whatever, which is still a
And then
good
it
amount of
creates
money.
turbulence in the family. How often have we seen that? Oh, and they start pointing fingers and oh, I deserve it. It's a mess.
It's just, and so you just take that out of the equation
Yeah,
and help your kids. And that's then the compound effect, right? It's the compound effect of knowledge and tools and wealth building that we have to bring into that estate planning. And, that is why we do our family health and wealth meetings. I mean, the first time the kids were creating their PFS, their personal financial statement, they're like, why are we doing this? All we have is a savings account. And I'm like, okay, but at the end of the year, they're like, oh, well, I didn't spend my Christmas money. So now I have this much in. And it starts just starting to do the reps and get in the game that's the education base. And then we can start
absolutely.
stacking these types of tools on there. So I love this. We're gonna come back. We're gonna give examples because to me, especially if I'm looking at one, I want to leave this legacy for my kids and make sure that they know how to do it because even I think I may have shared this with you. Aiden's looking to play hockey at prep schools on the East
Yeah.
Coast. And so he was like, what if I buy a house and stay there? I'm like, well, at prep school, you got to stay on campus. But anyway, I let it go with it, right?
Right idea, right?
Right idea. Let's go. So I said, we'll start researching properties. And he brought me one that it was a tiny home on like 5 to 6 acres. And he's like, I think I can. So what would you pay me like for my room and board, kind of thing? We worked through all the numbers. And then he goes, and I think I can now put 5 other tiny homes on it. This is what they're renting for. And like he goes, so I think, and he started doing all this math. If I pay it down and then this, I could probably be making like $100,000 passive a year by the time I graduate high school. And I was like, that's pretty darn good math. And then he goes, and then if I take what Miss Erica said and I can do the infinite banking, he's like, I'm making more. He's like, I don't know how much more yet. I haven't done that math. And he like went away. But it's
TBD.
it's basic, right? And I feel like those are the classes that I want to give my kids and teach it and knowledge. And so I appreciate you coming on and sharing your knowledge with them and breaking it down because I feel like that's what you do not only with infinite banking, but you have other resources and tools that and you're launching something pretty new here that we haven't even talked about. So I want to definitely bring you back on. Please tease us. And then I want to get to our developers 5 so we can wrap it up. And I know the audience is like, but we want more. She's going to come back. We're going to do some examples. We'll go through the math, but talk to us about what you are working on right now to release to help educate people on this concept and so much more, so much more.
Absolutely. So I have a IBC Infinite Banking mini course that is going to be coming out. There are three main modules. There's an intro and an exit as well. But the whole premise of this course is to give people the ability to understand this, digest it, repeat it a couple of times. Each of the modules comes with a little worksheet so you can make sure and go through some tactical checkpoints in your own personal situation. But this mini course is designed to do a couple of things. One, it's designed to help you have the mind shift. That's the first step in becoming your own banker. You have to transition from thinking like a consumer to thinking like a banker. And so, what this course does is it lays the foundation of not just what infinite banking is and how, but the why. Right? How did we get into the situation we are in the banking world? What are the banks doing? What are the problems out there? And why would you want to become your own banker? Why is that so crucial to your long-term success? So that's number one is why. Then we get into, okay, well, when you understand what infinite banking is, like we get it, what is it? What are the benefits, right? When you take infinite banking and plug it into what you're already doing, there's four key areas that you're going to see benefit. You're going to be able to lower your taxes, increase your control, lower your risk, and increase your leverage and returns on your investments. How do all four of those play into the portfolio that you currently have? How can infinite banking help that? And then it's
Those
like,
are
okay,
my
now that I get what it
KPIs.
is, how
Those
does this
work.
plug into? Yeah, my four pillars. And then it's okay, now that I understand infinite banking and why I want to plug this in and what the benefits are, what does this look like from kind of a mechanical standpoint? So I have some, they're high level, but they're just some cash flow examples of borrowing against your policy, using it to go invest, getting cash flow, getting distributions, repaying your policy loan, and comparing what does this look like from a IBC standpoint compared to just a regular cash investment.
Right.
And like Aiden said, I know what I can make, but IBC lets me make more. And how can we take advantage of that more? So those are the three different steps of it. They are high level. It's a foundational course, but it at least gives you, right, the foundation. We fill in the cracks. Everything else that you do on top of that is customizable. Think about a house, right? You need to have a good solid foundation. Once you have that, everything else on top of that is customizable and changeable. And that's where we come in with the tailoring and the specific, design for each individual person. But this course is designed to give you what you need to get the basics of the strategy and start to see how it can apply to your life.
Love it. Love it. Because it's all about those levers, right? How much more levers can we pull in the control? So, all right, on that, because I have like 10 more other questions and I know I gotta cut myself off for that. But let's get into your developer five. Okay. So
Okay.
give us your first deal, your first lesson. So what did your first deal teach you?
So I was actually one of my first deals with infinite banking specifically was in that new development. Like I mentioned, I was involved in that. The whole project was 12 to 18 months on his side. My side was supposed to be like, 6 to 8 months. And each of my projects ended up taking over a year. So when I had my money in there, other people that were involved that had traditional financing, they had bankers knocking on their door. Hey, you've got to repay this. Hey, we need the money back. Because bankers are not gonna, they don't care if COVID or sickness or whatever, right? Alien invasion, they don't care. They want their money back.
Yeah.
So when other people were being pressured into repaying that money, I was able to continue to just use my policy, get what we could and get through the process. So that was the big thing of realizing the power of this. It's not a big deal until it is.
Yeah.
On the other side of that, on another deal that I went into, this was a deal that went badly. And what I realized is the team with whom you invest is going to be the biggest factor in any investment. The
Mm.
deal is important, the property, the market, all of those things are important, but the number one factor of whether or not your deal will be successful or not is the people. And that has been my driving force ever since I've experienced that. It's who are you investing with? And I'll say this, it's not the five or six people that they have on the slide deck that they say are on the GP team. Who is running the deal? Who is making the day-to-day decisions? Who is there, right, doing the asset management? That is who you're investing with, and that is who you are writing a check to, and that's where you need to really do the most due diligence.
Oh, such a gem. I mean, that's one of the after the PFS, the next thing we teach is network and how to actually build it and vet it. That's the thing I think people don't build, vet, activate, right?
Yeah.
And then you're constantly tweaking because I love when you say that. Don't tell me who's in the slide deck. I get that that's the top. Like I want to know day to day who's digging in or who's
Yeah.
jumping out. Like
Yeah.
and how do you show up? And those are some of the questions you know that you have to vet your team. It's so critical. You know, and what do they tolerate, right? Like and how again, how do they think? Because we've all been, you know, have projects that don't go well. And that's why I always love talking about the scars because like you mentioned, that time frame, you went into that project and in the, you know, the Dallas area, it's booming. Even in the
Oh
bad
my God.
times, you're at like 6 to 8% growth. I mean, it's just printing money. It just wasn't printing fast enough.
I went into this thinking like, who could lose money in real estate? You always at least have the asset. Let me tell y'all, you can't. I did it.
And how do we learn, right? I always say like it's you don't fail unless you don't learn. And if you don't learn and improve and tweak and move forward, and you stop, like that's when you really lose, you know,
Yeah.
not everybody else. You just get better and tool up, right? So what and I know you talked about those projects. So what's a risk that you took that either paid off or didn't? You know, I like the scars more than the rewards, but like, yeah, oh, I see it.
So when I was at the investment firm out of college, I started, and like a little bit of my backstory, I was a teenage mom. And so I was raising my daughter. We moved from Odessa to the Fort Worth area, all in Texas, but that's still like 5 or 6 hours. People who know how big Texas is. So I'm
Yeah.
out in Fort Worth. I'm by myself. It's me and my 5-year-old daughter. Actually, she had turned 6. But I was working at this firm for several years, but it just, like I said, I saw a lot of problems, people running out of money, just the system itself wasn't working, and I knew this wasn't where I was supposed to be long term.
Mm,
But I had a little bit of a safety net,
yeah.
right? Like I had salary plus a little bit commission, right? You the golden handcuffs, so they say. And when I found this independent boutique firm, it was you're going off on your own. You don't have any resources. You're going under someone's umbrella, but I mean, you are essentially your own business owner where you have your own office, you have your own paperwork, you have your own clients. Like it's a eat what you kill kind of thing.
Yeah.
So to transition from the corporate investment life that I had always been a part of to going to a completely independent platform where I was on my own, I was terrified. I was
Okay.
absolutely
So
terrified.
let's recap where you're at when you made this leap, right? You have a child you're raising. Were you raising her by yourself did you have
Yeah, it
help?
was just me and her and my dog.
So you had two mouths, two
Two,
mouths.
yeah, two mouths. And he was a
So
little fatso, so he ate a lot. But uh,
and you know, what gave you what how did you get out of your head to make that leap? Because you're talking about having some pretty big bills and responsibilities and taking that leap from what we are taught, like going back to the education thing, what we are taught as safe and secure, and there's air quotes because that's total BS or bullshit, let's just call it, right? And because if you can't see where your revenue is coming, you have no control and no say. Two, being in that position where you're really an entrepreneurial FA now
mhm.
versus a corporate FA, right? Like, and that's making that jump from people's mindset is to the corporate world to entrepreneurial or startup or your own business. How did you get out of your head? How did you say, I'm taking this risk? It's me. Let's go.
It was really hard. And I had, when I told my boss, I went in and told her, actually, I emailed her like 2 minutes before my one-on-one with her because I just knew I was like, we need to talk about this during the meeting. And anyway, and she immediately in our meeting got up, went and got the president of the company who was over our specific office, got him out of a meeting, brought him in here, which I did not want at all.
No
But
confrontation. I just want to leave.
yeah, and I really do respect him. Like he's very, high up, very intelligent and all of this. And I had a lot of respect for him, but he came in, told me, you're making the worst mistake of your life. You'll be back here in 6 months. Like you're throwing your career out the window. Like if
Oh,
you're not here with us, like your life is gonna suck. Like how stupid can you be? And I had already in my mind and I love being told what I can't do because I'm like,
oh, me too. I have a
"Sis,
specific expression for that.
yes. But prior to this, I'm a very logical based person. I'm like, okay, before moving, and I'm like, okay, if I were to leave and worst case scenario, if I can process what the absolute worst case scenario is, and I
Mm.
can map out my plan for managing the worst case scenario, then I know that it will be okay. And so I'm mapping out the worst case scenario. I'm like, okay, I move over to this other company. If I do exactly what I've already done here for the past several years, if I just repeat that exact same process, what's going to happen? And if I can do what I've already been doing, right? The track record is there. If
Yeah.
I were to move over here and do this, let's even reduce it by 20%. Can I wake up in the morning and feed my child and have running water? Is that something that I can do? And right, so in that, and in addition to that, I had like a little side job I was working too. I was like, I'm doing some stuff on the weekends and whatnot, just to have a little bit of pocket cash. But my point is, if you're looking at making a decision and you're scared, figure out what's the worst possible thing. Everyone wants to talk, and I like to be an optimist and think about, bunnies and rainbows and all that. But I'm also like, let's be real. What's going to happen tomorrow? Is the sun going to come up if the worst case scenario happens? And if you can process and manage and get your brain around that and map out that plan, anything else that happens is just better. And you can handle it if it's better.
Yeah.
So, what's the worst case scenario? And what's your plan to get through that? When you map that out, everything else from there you can do.
I love it. Love it. Love it. So on that and going into the next one is what is one of your non-negotiables when you're evaluating a deal? Like, no way are you getting in if this isn't in there.
Yeah, it's going to come back to people. I want to know who the lead sponsor is, boots on the ground, and if they have not done what they are telling you to do or telling you to invest in, I'm out. Like,
Yeah.
Katie, I want to see your scars. If
Yeah.
you're telling me that you want me to do this, I want to see what you have done and how you have managed this. And I want to know, again, worst case scenario, I want to know about your worst deal. I want to know what is the deal that you operated, what is the deal that you were a part of that went bad, and how did you handle it? Again, I want to come back to worst case scenario and see people in the pit. What are they doing? What is their character? What is their work ethic? What is their strategy? How did you
Yeah.
manage that? Because
Love
how they did it in the past is very indicative of how they're going to do it again in the
it.
future. And if they've never been through it, then you don't know. And at the point of my investment career that I'm at, I'm not willing to invest in. There are people like someone's got to be the first investor. That's fine. That's not where I am in my investment career. So I'm looking at the people. What is their experience? What have they done? What's the worst thing that they've ever been through and the worst deal they've ever been a part of? How do they come out of that? And I'm asking them, and I'm also asking their investors because I want to know what's the deal and you were with this person and it went badly, and how did they handle it?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's talking to some of the people who invested with them. And when people ask, like, can I talk? I'm like, yep, here you go. Talk to these people. Like, you might hear some colorful language, and like, cause they're just good old boys, a lot of my investors.
Yeah,
Um, and on that side, I think that that's amazing part is like, if you don't have that resume, if you don't have those experience and those scars, team with somebody that does
yeah,
as a mentor, as somebody coming in. A lot of times, with some of the early developers that we have in the academy, I'm like, team with somebody who's already done it, leverage their resume, leverage their mentorship,
yeah.
to start building and teaching you, because you're gonna not every project is the same. You're gonna run into something that, like, when I teach the class in person, I have this "you can't make this shit up" jar. And before breaks, they take a slip out and they read like the situation. And a lot of times it's like, this didn't happen, Katie. I'm like, oh, can't make it up. Like, cannot make it up,
You
right?
mean like a guy smoking a cigarette while he has an oxygen tank on the seventh floor and blowing the entire floor up?
Here's your sign.
You can't make this shit up. Yes, that
Oh,
happened.
oh yeah. Oh, my dad was telling. I mean, he has so many great stories. When he was telling some about on episode one, and I was just like, "Wait, what?" And like, yeah, they thought lighter fluid in the fireplace would help it get going, and then they dribbled it across the carpet. And this is like a week before they're closing on it. So, I mean, it was just like, again, come on, peoples.
Oh,
So you
me.
learn how smart people, the general population, is when you own real estate. On that note, that's a whole different topic of episode. So, okay,
Yeah.
tools of the trade. Let's talk about that. What's one tool, system, or process that you swear by in either your due diligence, your process, vetting? Like, what's one that you're like, oh God, this was a game changer for me?
So for me, I'm a very visual person. I like to see the workflow. So all of the systems that I implement now for both my business and my investments is I have a flow chart where
Mhm.
I know exactly where each item is in the process. So for example, when I'm working with clients, what stage, because we do have an education process, what stage of the education process are they in? Are they in stage one, stage two, stage three? Are they, within their first year? Are they, 2 years up? Like at what stage are they in? Are they exiting their business? So I can see and I have a quick reference of exactly where people are. And so, and I'm not going to sit here and say I have it memorized, but I at least know here's what's a priority so I can visually see it. On my deals, like you mentioned, I'm in the process now of buying another business. So in that due diligence process, I have a running checklist that I can see. And this checklist and this workflow for me helps me prioritize what needs to be done, usually on a chronological basis. So I'm like, okay, we need to get these documents uploaded. I need to fill out this SBA form so I know chronologically what needs to be done in what time frame so I can focus my attention on that. So for me, having a visualized workflow, I mean, now I use like a system called Go High Level. Many years ago, I used Trello and HubSpot. All of them have workflows, but for me, being able to see chronologically what's important and hone in on that, that's
Mm.
been a game changer to be able to make sure that things are not falling through the cracks and that I'm not, if you guys can't tell, I kind of get all over the place sometimes. I've got to recenter my attention and look at something that slaps me in the face, do this now.
Yes. Yeah. Keep the main thing the main thing.
The
And
main
what's
thing.
the next step I need to do in getting that? That's a lot of times, even with our developers in the academy, it's like, you can't go there yet. You got to get your floor plan done. Like
Oh
there's
my God.
like,
Yeah.
like, what are you putting in this space? Right. So, all right. And then what does building a legacy mean to you? And how does infinite banking fit into that?
Yeah. So legacy for me, I think I'm tired of this generational curse. And I think a lot of us that are in this position, right? Like we're wealth builders. We are first generation. I'm so sick and tired of people being like, oh, they'll figure it out, or wanting to leave their family literally worse off. Why would I want my family to be worse off when I'm gone than when I left? And that doesn't mean like I plan on just giving my kids a big fat sack of cash, like we talked about. That's not the point, but to be able to turn the tide and say, hey, this is possible. This is what I was able to do during my lifespan. And here is what now you see as possible. What is your starting point? If my starting point was here and your starting point's here, if I was able to accomplish this, you're able to accomplish that. And helping them understand what, number one, what's possible in their mindset is really incredibly important as far as legacy. And I'm talking about for my children, of course, right? Children, grandchildren, but I'm also talking about like my nieces. I'm all and my nephews. I actually have nephews now. We were in a girl family for so long, but we've got boys too now. So my nieces and nephews, like I love them so much and I want them to know what's possible. Same thing. I have very, very, very close, dear friends of mine that are here all the time and they have little ones. Like I want to impact those kids as well. So to give people the ability to see what's actually possible is the
Yeah.
number one thing, having that mind shift. That's a legacy is recreating that mind frame and knowing I'm going to leave people better off than how I found them, not just financially, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, right? That's a big deal for me. So I'm going to leave them better off than how I find them. Number two, legacy is teaching that when you're gone, you have this ripple effect where what I start is going to affect you and it's going to affect the people that are around you, right? Like it's not just that 1 degree. I watched this video on this guy who told a story about this massive pastor. Oh, no, how he started it was two young boys are at a carnival, they're walking around and they see somebody and they hear him talking in a tent and they were really interested and they walk in and when they walked in there were no seats available. No seats available at all. And they're like, "Man, what's going on? Okay, well, I guess we're going to leave." So these two boys turn around to walk out and this gentleman, this usher's like, "Hey, no, 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 don't leave. I will find you a seat. I will make sure you have a seat." Turned these two boys around, went and found a seat somewhere, put it down, sat them down. So they ended up sitting down listening to this sermon, right? Whatever it was at the carnival, no big deal. That and it changed this little boy's life. Absolutely changed this little boy's life. This
Mm.
little boy grows up to be who we know as Billy Graham. This massive influence on, I mean, major, just an incredible influence in the world of Christians. Um, Nobody to this day knows who that man was that stopped them and turned them around and found them a chair. Nobody knows who that man is. But that man had a ripple effect where he helped and took and saw something, took action, and had a ripple effect. Think about the number of people that Billy Graham has impacted. Really, at the root of it, that initial pebble in the water was that man catching them and turning them around and finding them. So that's the ripple effect that we have to recognize we have. Just because we don't see that direct impact, who we're impacting is going to have that ripple effect. So that's a big deal for me on the legacy side. And then of course, right, like I am building wealth and I want to make sure that it's protected. So we're putting in the trust. We're teaching kids like, hey, you don't just get free money, right? Like if you go to the family bank, you have to go through the family loan process, right? And all of that stuff. So teaching the kids like what that responsibility and the expectations are.
Yeah.
And something that I'm working on doing better is talking about the family as a unit. We do this. We do that. Like creating this family as a unit, like it's not, oh, you do this or you do that or I do that. It is we as a family are building wealth. We as a family are investing in this deal. We as a family are buying this business. I talk to my kids, I talk to my husband, listen, like this is what my actions like I'm doing, but collectively, like we're all going to have to sacrifice time and energy and all of that. So we are actively doing that. So creating the we so structures within the family with trust and all of that, but also that the family structure is, expectations and the attitude that it is a family unit. So, and then of course, the last thing I would say is philanthropy. Like we don't want to just be wealthy and swim around in our pot of gold like Scrooge McDuck. That's not what this is about.
Right.
But we are so incredibly blessed. There's so many people that work hard and never have a penny to show for it. If
Yeah.
I'm working hard and I have my pennies, I have my gold, I want to go out there and make an impact, right? Like I have a big heart for disabled animals. Like that's my thing. I also have a big heart for kids. Like no kid should ever go to school hungry or without school supplies. So those are my two heart points. So I want to give to those things and see, have my kids see that when you are building wealth, it's good to give it down to others. So those are the different areas
Yeah.
of legacy that I feel are incredibly important.
I love it. I love it. There's so much in there that we're aligned. And that's why I love you. And that's why you're in my inner circle of amazingness. Yeah. And the building the legacy is people are watching, right? Our kids are watching, our friends are watching, even people in our network are watching because they want to see like, how do you show up? How do you engage? And leaving that legacy starts now, right? Leaving
Absolutely.
that legacy starts with the actions you do today, how you set things up and where you leave those heart prints, right? So Erica, I've loved having you on the podcast today. How can people reach out to you? How can they learn more about your course, infinite banking? Where can they find you?
Yes, good question. So I do have a free resource page with a lot of different PDFs on our website, infinityinvestmentstrategies.com. It's long, but it's all spelled correctly. There's a bunch of PDFs on there you can go download. I don't have the course up there yet, but it will be up there soon. So if you want to buy the course, you can. Katie, I will also give your Academy members a discount, a 20% off discount code. So you
Love
guys
it.
can use that. But all of those resources are available on our website. And then you can also contact me directly. I'm on all the social media. It's at the Erica Neal, or you can email me, Erica, Erica, at infinityinvestmentstrategies.com. I love to connect, schedule one-on-ones. I don't charge for that. I love to communicate and talk. We'll, hopefully answer some of your questions and then see where we need to go from there.
I love it. And you gave me an idea. Maybe when we do the barrel investment breakdown, maybe we do it live so we can have some questions on there. I don't know. We'll
Ooh,
think about that. I think that'd be fun. And I'll put those in the show notes for you guys as well. So you can reach out to Erica. Definitely take advantage of her knowledge and expertise because as you can tell, she's passionate about this. So I wanted
just a
to
little bit.
say thank you, Erica, and we will definitely have you back. And so on that front, woo, just woo, that was a masterclass in wealth strategy. Erica Neal just gave us the blueprints for how developers can stop playing defense with their money and start playing like the Rockefellers, using infinite banking as both a shield and a sword. If your
Mm.
wheels are turning, good. It's time to take action. This isn't just about insurance, it's about reclaiming control of your capital and creating a funding machine that grows with you and for your family. And if this is the first time you're hearing about infinite banking, it will not be your last. as long as you're subscribed here. And make sure that you check those show notes for the links to connect with Erica and get that deeper dive into the strategy. Get the resources to help you plug infinite banking into your development playbook, no matter what stage you're in. If this episode sparks something for you, I would invite you to share it with a fellow developer who needs to hear this, who needs to hear about these tools to get into the game. And remember, in this game, clarity is power and leverage is legacy. You just don't have to learn it, you have to use it. So catch you next time with Real Estate Developer Discussions with Katie Kim. And in the meantime, let's go. Hey friend, before you go, I want to say this. If real estate development has been on your heart or on your mind, we've built lanes to help you walk it out wherever you're starting from. Just exploring? Start out with our free live masterclass. Ready to do the reps and build the strategy? Join the Developer 101 Bootcamp. Already active and need to level up? Step into the Real Estate Development Academy. You don't have to figure this out alone. We can teach you, we guide you, and we walk with you. So head over to katiekim.com and book a call with our team today, and let's figure out the best first or next step for you. You're not behind, you're not too late, and you're definitely not too early. You're right on time. Let's go. The information in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not legal advice. It's not financial advice. It's not investment advice. Real estate development, like any investment, carries risk. Before you make decisions, you should always consult a licensed professional, your attorney, your CPA, or your financial advisor, to name a few, to make sure you're making the right choice for your situation. I'm here to share insights and strategy, but you're responsible for your own decisions, and each situation is unique. So make sure you contact your professional team to give you your specific guidance for your specific case, as each real estate development's different and unique and has its own challenges and opportunities.